and welcome to Pulp Kitchen episode 159. For those of you watching, you'll notice, or for those of our biggest fans who subscribe to our Patreon will know, we're actually in our one-shot double-take setup. This is because we have to run off very soon after making this episode. So to set this, de-rig this, and reset for the two-shot was just going to be too much work. I mean, we'd cut into this episode and sacrifice it. So we thought, let's just stay in this. If you're listening, this should be completely uninterrupted service.
Absolutely.
And it should sound exactly the same. But just in case you're watching, this is how we do our extra weekly news show, Double Take. Speaking of which, George, you just hosted a lovely episode of Double Take. We talked about quite a lot. Casting, Austin Butler.
American Psycho casting for Austin Butler, new White Lotus trailer. We talked about Harry Potter TV show casting rumors. We talked about a potential Barbie sequel in the works and other things.
Loads of stuff. So make sure, guys, if you want to throw us a bone this Christmas, go and check out our Patreon. You can get access to every single episode of Double Take, all of the fun news, all of our fun little bonus shows on there. We really enjoy doing it, so make sure you check that out if you want to support us. But in the meantime, this is Pulp Kitchen Standard. This is Pulp Kitchen Full Fat. This is what you came for. We're here today. Any chit-chat you got here, George?
Well, just other than I hope everyone's well. I came out of screening of Better Man this morning, which James reviewed 2 weeks ago. I really enjoyed it. I think it was really good fun.
Yeah.
And yes, it has the kind of tropes of a musical biopic in there, but I think the chimpanzee thing, stroke of genius.
Yeah,
stroke of genius. Kind of completely works.
And it's interesting that they made the decision to, he's obviously a chimpanzee, but he plays it very straight. And no one around him is treating him very differently outside of how they would treat a celebrity. Yeah. That's actually more of the genius move than if he was, doing Planet of the Apes stuff.
Yeah, he's not an actual chimp. He doesn't act like a chimp. He just acts like a person.
The first scene happens when you see him as a boy, and you're like, "Oh, he's a chimpanzee," and then the rest of the film just happens, and it doesn't
without explanation, and that's absolutely fine.
Yes, and good CG as well.
Impeccable. It's a bit like Paddington in the way that it's just like he's a bear, but no one. I mean, obviously they talk about him being a bear, but like he's just sort of integrated into life.
They're not questioning a digital bear in their real life,
talking
live
bear
action world. It looks great, and fingers crossed, we've got an opportunity.
Hopefully, we should
speak to John O'Davis, who is the actor who plays Robbie Williams, and he mocaps the bear in that film. We're filming something fun with him tomorrow that will come out on the social media channels soon. So that's really exciting.
But today we have, it's Mufasa week, Mufasa the Lion King. So we'll be giving our review of Mufasa the Lion King, but also last week I had the opportunity to go and speak to some of the people involved, actually quite a few members of the cast and the director, Barry Jenkins. In this episode, you will hear my interview with Barry Jenkins. We talk about the film. Obviously, Barry Jenkins, director of Moonlight, If Beale Street Could Talk, and much else besides, an Oscar-winning director. But also keep an eye out on our social media pages because we'll be posting clips from our interviews with Billy Eichner, Aaron Pierre, and by the way, Aaron Pierre, who was in a movie I reviewed a few months ago, which I really liked, called Rebel Ridge. He voices Mufasa in this. What a man.
Yeah.
Oh, what a man.
He's
incredibly kind and gentle, but he's huge.
Yeah.
He's a big guy with big hands.
Yeah.
He's just a big frame, Yeah. And in this interview where he sat next to Kelvin Harrison Jr., who voices Tucker in this, he's in a bigger chair. Like he's like someone took a normal person in like a photo editing software and just pulled the diagonal thing and just enlarged it.
Like Gandalf next to the dwarfs.
Yeah, and he's got these wonderful eyes, and I was completely charmed by him, James. And he was
really?
lovely. We had a really good chat with that. So keep an eye on the social pages for that. But we will also be talking about Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield's new movie, We Live in Time, which has got tube posters, bus adverts everywhere, and that's coming out on New Year's Day. So that is fun.
Look out this week for a bonus where I'll be talking about Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. God, that's the title. And also Carry On, Christmas film starring Taron Egerton. George, we love Phone Booth.
Oh, yeah. Is this like it?
Oh, George, it's Die Hard 2 meets Phone Booth.
In the sky?
Oh, in an airport.
Oh, in an airport.
Because it takes place in an airport.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. You know what? I said this on Double Take. It's the best 7 out of 10 film I've seen in a while. If that makes sense for like where it sits, but like does the job. So look out for the review of that. It's on Netflix now if you want to check it out already. But Carry On, Taron Egerton and Jason Bateman in a sinister role.
Oh, yo. Oh, no, that's Ben
Hey
Stiller.
there. He's like, bad news. You're in breach. That's what he does. You're in breach. I went Trump there.
Yeah. Bad news.
Bad news. Hey, buddy. You're in breach.
Anyway,
look out for those later this week.
But lots of films happening. It's that time of year, so let's get on with the reviews now. So Mufasa, the Lion King, is out. It is the story of Mufasa's origins as a cub and growing up. The story is kind of framed with present day Lion King story, as in present day 2019,
with a fun nod to the sequel Simba's Pride, because we have Simba's daughter who's in the straight to video film.
Yes, so we begin with the world that we're left off with at the end of the 2019 one, so Donald Glover and Beyonce, etc. But then Rafiki tells the young cub the story of how Mufasa came to be, and he's accompanied by Timon and Pumbaa giving light comic relief every so often. But then we go back and we see Mufasa as a cub and how he came to be, and the great Lion King that he was. I had the opportunity, as I mentioned at the top of the show, to speak to Barry Jenkins, the director, last week, and here is our interview with Barry Jenkins.
Hi, Barry. I'm George. I'm from a film podcast called Pulp Kitchen.
All right.
Congratulations on the film.
Thank you very much.
First question I'd like to ask is, The Lion King, when it came out in 1994, was a huge global phenomenon. What are your memories of seeing that film for the first time?
Yeah, my memories, I don't remember seeing it the first time, but I have like this series of seeings, which is babysitting these two small boys, my sister's children. In that era, you're just reaching for which DVD, which VHS is going to hold the kids' attention the best. And The Lion King was the one that they wanted to watch over and over again. And you realize very quickly they're watching this movie as a children's film, but they're processing this very complex emotion for the first time, which is, what it might be like for a child to lose their parent, which isn't something that children think about very often, until they're confronted with mortality, which this film, of all things, did in a very clear and honest way.
Absolutely. And Mufasa, The Lion King, is a different kind of film to the ones that audiences are used to seeing you make. What was it about doing this kind of project that, what were you able to do? What did it enable you to do that you weren't able to do with previous work? And what did you learn from that?
Yeah, I took this job, I read the script, and I saw so many of the themes in my previous work, but you're right, the genre and the style of the film were different. And yet that would have been the case if it was a sci-fi film or if it was an action film. The fact that this one is this sort of like live action animation, it still situates it apart from something like Moonlight, but I think the story itself is very, very similar, and the themes are very, very similar as well. I think I was at a moment where I was curious about doing something that was different, and there was nothing that had crossed my desk that would be as different as this. So it seemed like the right choice.
And you spoke about those themes there. What I love in the film is that this balance of childlike wonder with the world and with the natural world, balanced with the threat of social threat, even environmental threat. And I can see the theme in your previous work as well. What draws you to that theme in your work, and why do you want to explore it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it must be, and when you look at this film in particular, Mufasa for 30 years has been this great king who we assumed, arrived at his greatness through a very simple means. He was born into it. I love the complexity that Jeff brought to that story by showing the ways, not even that he earned it, but that he acquired, all these wonderful qualities, all these wonderful skills, acquired this worldview, through his experience of moving through the world, building a found family, listening to the lessons, the teachings of his ancestor, and being someone who was willing to sort of grow. I thought that was a really wonderful thing, because I feel like that's how I've lived my life. It doesn't make any sense that, I have an Oscar and a BAFTA at home and I'm speaking to you about this movie when I grew up the same way the character in Moonlight grew up. You don't assume that someone from that background end up in this place. And yet I have. And I've done it through the same methods as Mufasa, by listening to the world, by building a found family, and being open to growth.
I think what audiences will, from the moment the film begins, be confronted with is the sheer visual spectacle and the visual storytelling at work in this film. And I was curious to know, because the vision is so strong, what visual inspirations did you take and cues? Were you inspired by other films, other works of art? What was in your mind when you were coming with that?
It wasn't other films. The cinematographer, James Laxon, who's a really good friend of mine, he shot several commercials on the continent of Africa, and he always comes back describing it as just like this, like a place like no other. And so we looked at the work of all these African fine artists, to be honest. We wanted to create a depiction of the continent that existed in the continent's own image of itself. Even when it came to location scouting, because we made the movie during the pandemic, we couldn't physically go ourselves. Instead, we reached out to this network of artists, conservationists all throughout the continent. We had mapped the journey of where Mufasa and his found family passed through. And we actually contacted people in those places and said, what is the most interesting element of your environment or your landscape that you would like to see realized in a film? So I think in that way, we sort of built a visual language, a visual grammar that was sort of rooted or wanted to come from the energy of the continent.
Oh, that's really interesting to know, because it definitely feels very tactile and very real and very present, the environmental factor. And like I said, almost the environmental threat as well. The concept that's repeated in this film is this idea of Malele, this sort of paradise, this utopia beyond the horizon, a place of abundance, a place of great color. I wanted to know, more personally now for you, what does paradise mean to you, to Barry Jenkins? What do you envisage that for yourself as a paradise?
I don't know that, 'cause paradise is a very specific word. I don't know that I believe in paradise, but if you're asking me Malele, I think it's more a state of mind, and not a physical destination or a physical place. I think creating art, with this found family that I have chosen and that has thankfully chosen me, being able to utilize our voice to create things that exist in the world while also, growing as human beings. To me, doing that collectively, that's my version of Malele.
Oh, very good. I mean, on that point, I've been asking the actors today about how liberating it feels for them to be in a voice booth and just letting go. And they've spoken about how great your direction was in inputting. How is it from your side, working with actors in that environment from a vocal point of view?
Oh, it's very cool. As a director making this kind of film, you get to really delineate and focus on just this aspect of your process. And so when we're working on the radio play, I'm just working on performance. It doesn't matter where the camera is, doesn't matter, where the sun is, nothing. And it's very, very immediate. Typically in a movie, you do a take, you call cut, the camera's got to reset, the wardrobe's got to reset, the hair and makeup. You give a note, an adjustment on the performance. It takes like 7, 8, 12 minutes before you're, filming again. In this case, we're all there, we do the scene right away, we can give a note, evolve it, and we're going right back in. It felt much more like live theater, like the rehearsals of a play in that way. And it also was very expansive. Everything was possible, and I really loved working with this cast.
A lighter question now, one I'm asking the actors as well, is because they all get the opportunity to voice animals in this film. But as a director, you're not quite given that opportunity.
No, I'm not.
I was wondering, if you had been given the opportunity and they said, Barry, you can voice an animal in this film, what animal would you have chosen?
So there's this animal, I don't know technically what the technical term is, but I called it raccoon dog. And raccoon dog was my favorite animal in the whole movie. It's like looks like a cross between a raccoon and a dog. It's black and white. I just adored this animal. And it was in the movie, out the movie, in the movie, out the movie. I think now there's one shot of it right as Mufasa's giving his big speech in the third act. And I just love him. And if I could voice anybody in the film, it would be Raccoon Dog.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I will look out for the spin-off that will come one day with the Barry Jenkins led one with Raccoon Dog.
Barry Jenkins presents Raccoon Dog, the Lion King. Yeah.
Barry, that's all the questions I have. Thank you very much for your time.
Nice
Thank
to meet you, sir.
Likewise.
That was director Barry Jenkins talking about Mufasa, the Lion King, and I really enjoyed some of his points. I do like with the whole junket circus, it's like very busy, and by the time you sit down there, you have your questions. But I did actually learn a lot from what he was saying to me about the way they had really mapped the sort of environmental conditions of it. Anyway, I explained the plot of Mufasa just before we had the interview. James, what did you think of the movie?
Interesting that we're getting more Lion King. I'm not surprised we get more Lion King, but the Lion King itself is one of the most successful entertainment IPs that is released surprisingly little, right? So the stage show is one of the most, is it profitable or the highest grossing entertainment outputs, because it's been put in 1,000 languages all around the planet, and it's been around for such a long time, and it's got such a lasting impact on culture. We obviously got the 2019 very, very close remake in live action, and here is a sequel that sort of unsurprisingly to see it has come. Would it be fair to say, if I spoke for both of us, our reception of the film pre seeing it was a little bit lukewarm.
Yes.
Is that fair enough to say? That was sort of a little bit of an eye roll?
Yes, and I think part of that was, which is why I was glad to talk to Barry Jenkins, was that I was like, Barry Jenkins from Moonlight is doing a Lion King movie?
Yeah.
What?
I would have rather he did other exciting, more individual projects that wasn't sort of a studio.
And I didn't see the 2019 Lion King, but I heard lukewarm things.
You've seen the original, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
Human.
Yeah. I watched that on Safari, the 2019 one. We had a great time. So Mufasa, we sort of outlined the plot. This is the story of him becoming who he is, meeting who eventually goes on to become Scar. That's not really a spoiler. And basically establishing himself as the Lion King. Here's my main thought about Mufasa on just sort of the aesthetic of it. I'm starting to realize, especially now that we're telling a new story that isn't recreating the 2019 original, there is a quality to this animation which nonetheless is gorgeous. And I think the animals beautifully recreated, the African landscape and the wild, the savannah, the sun, the grass, everything is so wonderfully realized. I wonder over a new story on this long of a runtime, telling me something new. There is something being slightly lost in the fact of what I'm seeing isn't quite real and therefore less important to me. That for some reason doesn't happen when I watch Shrek or Toy Story. There is this sort of awkward midpoint with Mufasa where no matter how good the drama, the characters, the story is, something about it just feels artificial.
I think I know what that is.
Yes.
Well, I think it's to do with the characters and the fact that because they're so lifelike in their rendering, they can't express and emote like humans.
That's also a
So
thing.
looking at the faces and like real drama is being given by the actors in their performance, but ultimately a lion can't, twinkle and smile like Jeremy Irons' Scar does in the original animation.
It's the same problem I had with Little Mermaid live action Under the Sea, is that the bottom of the ocean is inherently quite a dark and blue place, and fish have very unexpressive faces, and a lot of that film is like just not as bright and as vibrant as the cartoon had to offer. So is this. As a story, I actually think it's quite competent, and I think the story bones of it are better than I thought. I quite liked the characters. I was surprised we went on such a big journey, and I enjoyed some of the dynamics in play. I think it's very well voice acted. I did feel the length, and I did get towards the second half, and that factor of seeing something that feels artificial is getting compounded as the story goes on. And I did just start to slightly wear and tear with it. We had a sort of final act which was engaging but felt a little bit like familiar comic book, we're all going to band together to defeat the evil thing territory. Yeah. It's not that I had a bad time. I just think I felt ever so slightly disconnected from it. I'm not really that invested in Lion King lore. I'm not wondering, well, how did Rafiki get his stick?
Yeah.
How did Scar get his scar? Those are nice, curious things.
How I got this scar?
Do you want to know how I got his scars? So it's like, as an actual story, I didn't have a bad time. And there's actually a lot in there that I think is very well done. But I'm just hovering at a mild interest.
Yeah, I agree. I think it felt like a 2.5 hour movie, but it's actually about 1 hour 50, which is quite surprising. It felt a lot longer.
Well north of 2 hours.
I think it's funny because after I'd seen it, some of it kind of stayed with me, and I think the best things in it is actually what Barry Jenkins has applied to, which is a real great sense of story, a real sense of drama, and I think the performances and the actors are really invested. And check out the interviews, but the actors are talking about how they loved being in the vocal booth because they could really let go and really express themselves. So that's great. It's one of those moments I've mentioned about the acting, but when the songs happened, brought me out because you'd be watching this quite intense drama and then they'd suddenly be like, bye-bye, Lin-Manuel Miranda, I'm going to drop a song. And you go, oh, of course, this is the Lion King. So now not only am I watching a lion who can't express with all the emotion that I'm expected to. He's now singing, which just feels very crowbarred in.
And Mads Mikkelsen's really threatening. He's a really threatening guy, even not on screen, even just as a voice. He's very scary. One of his scariest intro moments, he has this very camp song, which is make you go bye-bye. And I'm like, oh, that unfortunately didn't quite work here.
I will say from the moment it begins, it is absolutely stunning.
Yes,
visually stunning, and absolute props to the team there. I do think the drama is good, but I just wonder as well what kids' what the kids' stickability will be with this. I'd like to see it in an audience full of children to see how they go with it, because I think that's why they've dropped in the Timon and Pumbaa interactions every so often to keep it, alive.
That did feel like where they cut back to go, what? We didn't know that happened. Joke, joke, joke. Break from the story. In a lot of ways, it made it feel longer.
Ultimately, I do still feel like it is an exercise in using existing property by studios, thinking, what if we broke off a bit of Lion King and grew a new bit of Lion King?
And put the Lion King in the title for SEO reasons.
I will say that I think that actually, because it's a Barry Jenkins film, it has its moments at being a lot stronger than it could have been in lesser hands. And I think the actors are doing great work, but it is a bit long. It feels a bit long. It's not over long. It just feels a bit long.
There are a lot of like great familiar story beats in a good way of like fathers and sons, kings and princes, what it means to be a leader, how you rise to the occasion, like very seminal Lion King things, which are nicely explored here. And Mufasa as a character in The Lion King is more of a symbol. He's more of a symbol for like a father, God, Jesus Christ, like rising to become that. Whereas here, I'm like, okay, you've given it some depth and some backstory, and I actually quite like who Mufasa is as a young man.
Yes,
here. So that all of that is interesting. With the kids thing, I wonder if, sounds really cynical, do kids latch on to the face of a more realistic lion than they do the Lion King animated?
I think the animation, personally, because
I agree.
Because it is so more expressive and it's so more universal. Whereas
Timon and Pumbaa as well. They as a warthog and what is Timon?
A meerkat.
Animal? A meerkat. They're very small and reduced features which are hard to connect. It's more of like Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner's voice.
And then also you're aware of the disconnect because they're compensating for it with their voice because they're being wow and that, but this warthog essentially is just like.
We were also wondering, this is coming out, is it
Warthog impression.
Is it Boxing Day? Or
No, it comes out this Friday, 20th of December.
So 20th of December, week of Christmas. We were wondering, it's a very, very busy time with films being released. Granted, not in the same category for the same audience, but we were wondering, like, this could get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
That's a really hard date to get right. In one sense, it's a really obvious choice because you go, the whole family are together for Christmas. Let's go and see something that everyone loves. Who doesn't know and love The Lion King? Great, we'll see the prequel. But I wonder if the reviews are kind of fine, does that still entice the same numbers that I know they want to reach to match 2019 Lion King?
It's still it's the Wonka slot. I'm pretty sure Wonka had the same release style, another musical, but I feel like Wonka had a bit more of a family
Easy
appeal,
sell,
and less of a tired sort of rehash.
I wonder if dads will nod off a little bit. And you know what? It's not that it's not compelling and well put together. It's like all the technical elements. I'm like, yeah, you've done a good job and the voice acting's good. It's just not as compelling to me, and I did feel the length. And
on a tangent, just bringing that up, did I tell you how my dad nodded off with Wonka last year?
I think you mentioned it. Yeah,
I mean, I'd already seen it, but we went as a family, went to see it for Christmas time, whatever. And he got in, and we were all there. And he got himself a hot chocolate. It was fine. Trailers are showing, and he's reacting to the trailers. My dad likes to go, yeah, I'll give that a miss. Thumbs down, thumbs up. The second the film begins and Timothée Chalamet is on the mast of the ship, my dad is...
Because there's not that much jeopardy in that film.
Nope.
It's too easy.
God.
It's like playing a really great video game on easy mode. It's like the challenge is not there and you're just bleezing through. It's not there. But
anyways, that was Mufasa, The Lion King. Let us know your thoughts.
We'd love to hear specifically in the perspective that George and I don't have, which is from families with older parents, younger kids.
Yeah.
We are very much just sort of watching it as like professional film critics who are 30, which is like not the intended audience. So we'd love to hear like how other people received it and what they thought. We might just have not been the target audience. So as always, send in your thoughts to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com.
So let's do We Live in Time, which is the new movie starring Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield and directed by John Crowley, who directed Brooklyn. Quite like that.
Goldfinch.
Did he? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bit of a flop, though. Yes.
The great book. People love the book.
I read the book. I didn't like it at all.
Right.
Well,
The book.
Okay, we're not a book podcast, but I will tell you about the book.
Yeah.
If anyone's read The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt, which is essentially almost actually feels like 3 different books in one.
Okay.
I have a friend who works in publishing and said, that book, by the way, is like 900 pages. And I remember feeling really bloated, really indulgent. And my friend was like, yes, because that author is so successful and has such an ego around them. Not ego, sorry, but like such a reputation that when they hand in a manuscript, it's no notes. They're not allowed. They don't. That's an author they don't offer criticism for. They just let them publish
I'd
it.
heard amazing things about The Secret History, which loads of people have said.
I loved
they
it.
loved.
I really liked
okay,
it.
so interesting. I started that and I felt the same about The Secret History.
okay,
I
fair
found
enough.
it a bit indulgent and I gave it 200 pages and then said, not for me, I'm going to move on.
I read that at Christmas time, so it made me feel it was quite wintry and stuff. But I get
Fine.
it. But
I read it in summer by Paul. Wrong setting.
let's talk about We Live in Time. So it is a romance film, like I said, starring Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. Andrew Garfield plays Tobias, and Florence Pugh plays Almut. And the story is kind of presented to us in fragments in sort of 3 different time periods. There is their meeting, their first interaction of their relationship as a couple. There's this sort of middle point where Florence Pugh is pregnant with their child. And there is this later point where Florence Pugh relapses with stage 3 ovarian cancer. And we are shown these points in their relationships consecutively. And it is a sort of a depiction of their lives. Alma is a chef, a budding chef, a very talented chef, and a restaurant owner. And in a nice bit of contrast, Andrew Garfield, playing Tobias, works for Weetabix in a very nondescript, boring office job. He wears teal for the entire movie. It's a really bizarre choice. The kitchen has teal in it. I was like, surely there is more to him than that. I will get on to that point you make about a lovely kitchen as well. They have this lovely meet cute at the beginning where Florence Pugh hits Andrew Garfield with her car. And like I said, thus begins this relationship. But you are seeing it kind of in fragments, in different places. That's really, I think, the main thrust of it. I don't think there's much more to overcomplicate the plot with there, just to describe the thrust of it.
And the non-linearity wonderfully telegraphs its time period through Florence Pugh's hair. We have fringe, we have no fringe, we have buzz cut, and those are usually quite good. I went to Italian. So when she's got the fringe,
I was more like when they're in the country house. That's the present day. When they're in the North London flat.
Clues to help you let you know where you are. So I was really excited to watch We Live in Time.
Same.
I really like the talent involved. I think Florence Pugh and is brilliant in this, and I think she continues to be one of the best actors, most exciting actors working today. And likewise, I think Andrew Garfield and her have very good chemistry. I like the characters in this film. I like how realistic the dialogue felt. It's very authentic, but there's also room within that authenticity to have drama. I think that's a hard thing to balance when you have authentic dialogue, but also have drama. I think there are times where the dialogue maybe is lost in that balance, and maybe I was left wanting for the dialogue to elevate itself, but nonetheless, I think it's good. There's scenes I really like. One, like the scene when they find out about the diagnosis of the ovarian cancer, and it shows how different people react to hearing that news. One person sitting very still, the other person making notes as if that helps, but maybe it just helps for them. Someone asking the doctor lots of questions. Like, I like how people receive news very differently in relationship and in ways to try and help. I think the non-linearity becomes less of a feature in the second half. And that's where the film, for me, in the second half, I was really longing for the story to develop just one step further. I like these characters. I like the bones. I like the scenes. There's a great childbirth scene. Like, as you said, the meet cute's really good fun. And I was worried that, this is just me purely speculating here, maybe the film doesn't want to paint a picture that isn't real life, and at the expense of that lacks enough dramatic fuel in its engine. That's kind of how I left thinking about it. I watched it with my partner, and we did well up a little bit, and we had a good time like enjoying these characters, but something about the dramatic bones never got fired up enough so that when we rolled credits, it sort of just gently rolled away from me, and I think I just wanted another gut punch. Sounds bad to say. I like this whole idea because she's a chef who is competing in the Bocuse d'Or, which is an amazing competition that really exists, and it's, if you've ever seen pictures of like the output of the Bocuse d'Or, it's incredible. And this idea of what you choose to do with the time that's left in your life and the time that's given to you and how you want to be remembered and who you spend it with and what you want to do and what you want to say, I think is a really interesting thing to place your film on. And I like the way it centers around Alma and her family. But the ending and the second half just ever so slightly lacked for me. And that's where I was left wanting with the film. And maybe because I was so excited, a little bit of a disappointment.
I totally agree. I agree with everything you say. I think it is handsomely presented, very well acted, moments of great witticism, moments of great warmth. It is moving, it is sad, but I was a touch disappointed. And I think that's a little bit, as you said, because the overhype. But the point you make about the sort of development of the plot is true. I came away thinking, ultimately, the film actually doesn't build to any grand point. It doesn't actually have a lot to say, I don't think. And there's a difference in that. Anna and I also watched it with Anna, and we got to the end, and I said, we were like, yeah, that's sad, but you know what it is? It's not profound. It's just sad. All of Us Strangers, profound. Takes you to a place of grief and uses something with that. And I kind of got to the end of this and thinking, that's just sad for sad's sake. I kind of felt a little bit like I was just watching, I've watched a couple who are dealing with a challenge.
Realistic,
and it's a little bit moving.
fact,
and when it's like, but isn't it so moving? It's like, it's moving because you're watching someone struggle with cancer. I'm not made of stone. Of course that's moving. But I'm sorry that to what end? I kept thinking, to what end? What are we going through this story for? It's called We Live in Time, and I really thought it would be a much grander examination or statement about the flow of time and the experience of time that you have with but you know what I mean? It's more like how
time affects a relationship, how you evolve, how you grow.
And even if you were to put it really glibly, like at the end of About Time, when Donald Gleason's like, we're all traveling through time, we're all going forward, something like that. But I was kind of left lacking. And what then kind of happened very cynically is there's a very part of my brain that this is not necessarily. I think the film is very heartfelt and very sincere. So I'm not taking away from it, but personally, it has this gnawing thing, which is that it's all too handsome and it's all too lovely presented. And there was a point where I thought, if this didn't have two very attractive actors in it, who are the hottest in terms of talent as well in their game, would I be as interested in this? Would it have got the push? And the handsomeness and the cutesiness, it's like, with all these stories, it's all so safe and middle class, and like the flat she lives in is gorgeous and well decorated and lovely. And the same with him, it's all too safe. And I sometimes, it's different with other rom-coms because other rom-coms don't give a pretense to being in the real world.
No.
But because this is trying to have an attempt at realism, it made me think, well, you know, I can't connect in a way because I'm like, what about your actual struggles? Surely you have money problems. Are you not from different class backgrounds? Tell me more here. And I was left kind of lacking and wanting that. And like the house they live in the sort of the third bit with their Arga and their lovely place. And I'm like, because it's all cozy and lovely, but you're trying to be more realistic. And I'm thinking, how do they afford this place? How do they afford that with the... Anyway, that's a minor thing, but I have that with a lot of rom-coms where it's just like, if you're trying to make it more realistic, you're not... Money's a big thing anyway.
I hate to say it, could it have been more impactful as a one-day style series told over 7+ hours?
Probably. Yeah,
where
probably to invest.
The non-linearity can be a bit more unpacked there.
But like, it's not too dissimilar, from One Day.
No.
But like, One Day has the concept, which is its raison d'etre. That's the reason it's being told. I'm still kind of thinking, what was the real dramatic reason for this story?
I wonder if this film is so keen on its point being that the film does not want to prescribe to its audience what you should do when you are in that situation, how you should spend your time. It's very much like the moral is however you feel that whatever you want to do with that decision is your business. And I wonder if because it's so set on making that point, it doesn't therefore take a side and leave the audience with something to discuss.
Yeah, I think that.
Do you know what I mean? It's like it's so bold on like this is what these people chose to do, and this is how they chose to.
But this is it. I found it.
There was no conflict in that.
Yeah, I just felt it. It was almost just observational. I felt like I was just watching this couple in the same way I would watch them if they were like at dinner at the same restaurant as me. But I was never really getting in there. I will say this. It is a film that understands the emotional significance of British confectionery. There is a scene of Andrew Garfield eating a chocolate digestive alone in the bath. There is a scene of them sharing a Jaffa cake in the bathtub when Florence Pugh is pregnant.
And celebrations.
And celebrations as well. Boxer celebrations play a very key moment.
Are they all from the same? Is it like Mars or Nestle that do that?
I don't know. But I think, no, because McVitie's is one of them. But I was like... I like that. I see you. It's kind of a very British thing, as a biscuit man, but also as a British thing, expressing emotion, particularly grief, through the consumption of confectionery in a very British way.
It's lovely and a sad indictment on our culture.
Yeah, it's a very well observed moment.
I
like that.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, I don't want to take away from the fact that the film is very sincere and very heartfelt, has some lovely moments, and brought me a smile. But I think it's the ultimate thing. It's like, yes, it's made this decision to go sad and be. It's a weepy. That's it, right? It's gone for a weepy. But I don't I still think, to what end? Why have we been telling this? It's sad, but it's not profound. I think that's it. And as a result, it's kind of faded away from me a little bit. It's a bit. That's why I was disappointed, because for all the talent involved, it is ultimately just a bit less so. It's just a weepy. It's just like a romance with a bit of a twinkle in its eye.
Yeah, I agree. Bit of a disappointment from us, but as always, we'd love to hear what you guys think when you catch We Live in Time, probably in the future.
It is out on New Year's Day in the UK, I believe.
Fantastic. So please, when you guys go and see it, send in your thoughts, and we will read them back in the new year in 2025.
2025, my goodness.
Send them in, as always, of course, to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com. We will read them out on the show. That was We Live in Time.
Shall we go through some of the emails that these sirens have written into us?
Yes, please.
This first email is from VIP Harry.
Oh, Harry, we salute you, sir. Great to see you at the quiz.
Great to see you at the
Warm
quiz.
and friendly and funny, as always.
And guys, just to remember that if you do subscribe to our Patreon and you are a member of the VIP or producer tier, you do get to have your email read out as a priority.
Harry is. Please,
So,
the red curtain, red carpet.
Oh, the rope. Yeah, please come on
Harry,
in.
come through and have your question.
Harry writes in and says, "Hello lads, it's Harry. I'm here for my ongoing rant about Red 1.
Here we go.
And in accordance with Caitlin's email last week, I'm glad she enjoyed it. People need to, but we have to bear in mind the film politics. A $250 million budget and The Rock $50 million, the most anyone has been paid for a film ever, soon to be topped by Robert Downey Jr. in Avengers Doomsday.
Surely he got more than 50 for one. Didn't he get 50
That is
for
a
Iron
lot
Man
for one
3?
movie, but...
I heard he got 50 for one for Iron Man 3.
Well,
But
at least
anyway,
level.
Yeah,
But anyway,
level.
It was originally
Anyway,
meant to be
massively
overpriced. It was originally meant to be released on Amazon Prime, but recognizing the budget and apparent reshoots, the film had to release in cinemas to even try and get some money back. As of December 12th, it's on Amazon Prime, which could be one of the shortest turnovers ever. We're somehow still showing it at my cinema, but only one a day, and no one goes to it.
Well, of course, works at a multiplex in
Harry
London,
works
which
in
is a
London.
great insight to have.
Worldwide earnings are only $166 million. The background of the film is everything wrong with it and the industry. And above that, a Dwayne Johnson Christmas movie speaks for itself. Knowing exactly how the film pans out before seeing it kind of defeats the purpose. You guys did right by not seeing it. Lastly, what are you most excited to see in the coming weeks? Knowing you have already watched the likes of Nosferatu, Mufasa, and Better Man, is there anything else? The reason I ask this is because I want global listeners to know that the best film coming out over the next few weeks is coming out on Christmas Day on BBC One, to be precise. But it won't be available until January 3rd outside the UK. I'm sure you're allowed to watch it. I am, of course, referring to Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul.
let's do it.
Such a British classic that brings a homely feeling. This new film sees the return of my childhood nemesis, Feathers McGraw. If people get the chance to watch it, please do. Wishing you lads and the listeners a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Your friend, Harry. P.S. Completely forgot to mention that to James that I'm one of the original emailers loving Home Alone 3.
Yes!
So underrated.
Underrated.
Yeah, I rewatched Wallace and Gromit, Wrong Trousers, and Wallace and Gromit, A Close Shave the other day.
Fantastic.
I love
Enjoyed
it. I
should rewatch them. I've not seen
I
them.
love it.
Yes.
But Anna had never seen them and had never really got into Wallace and Gromit, and I showed it to her, and she quite liked them, but it is one of those things that if you have no context for watching Wallace and Gromit,
Quite odd, isn't
they
it?
are odd.
Yeah.
Because they're sort of like, they're made in the 90s, sort of set in the 60s, he's an inventor and stuff, but they're lovely. They're still lovely.
We're big fans of Aardman. Check out our reviews of Chicken Run 2 and just general conversation. I'd say the film I'm most looking forward to, which we're actually getting the chance to see tomorrow, is The Brutalist.
Yeah.
I'm really
Yeah.
into that. It's
3.5 hours. We're getting an interval, though.
Thank God. I wish Scorsese had done that with Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
But I'd say, because we've seen a lot of the end of year / January films, I'd say that for me is, it looks like an Oscar film.
But you know what? I'm also like, it's the worst time of year to watch that kind of film because everyone's brain dead.
Totally.
3.5 hours on a Wednesday night. Anyway.
Yeah. And a cool trailer they did for that film as well.
Oh, yeah, with the panning
Just the
movement.
panel. What
Brilliant.
a great way to just mix up the trailer and make it like an art house carousel. Love that.
This next email is from Joseph, who writes in and says, "Hello, George and James and George.
Hello.
Joe from Tasmania.
Nice.
Another Aussie.
Aussie's just coming in hot.
Just 3 quick things regarding some Christmas movies and an upcoming Europe trip I have with mates. Firstly, I've just finished watching Klaus, the Ali Plum Film Bites. Convinced me to finally see it. Yes, we put out a Film Bites with Ali Plum, who's a big fan of Klaus. Also, the comments. Everyone loves Klaus. I'm going to have to try and watch it.
Yeah, I've had it recommended a few times. Ali Plum just came through with some top recommendations for those. Go and check all of those film bites out if you haven't already.
It was gorgeous. Klaus has gorgeous visuals with unique animation. It's funny, emotional, and it's just so damn warm and fuzzy. Truly beautiful, and one of those Netflix originals that allows them to continue making originals. Maybe a 70-30 hit or miss rate at the moment, to be honest. Okay. Secondly, Secondly, with Christmas around the corner, we all know that the beloved Grinch is up in the cave plotting away. Since you guys have constantly talked about the film as a Pulp Kitchen approved classics, I wonder if you guys could do a Patreon review chat about it, like your Interstellar one. We'll try. It's very tight for time at the moment.
Yeah, let's have a chat.
We'd love to do it. We'll put a pin in it, but we'd love to. But yeah. Thirdly, myself and 3 close friends are traveling to London and around Italy over New Year's to the mid-January period. I was wondering if you two had any cool suggestions for the trip regarding movie-related locations or activities, or even just a favourite place to eat or something. Okay. We're staying at the Ibis at London Blackfriars, so any places around there or that are easily accessible would be great. Thanks again for all you do. Wishing you and the families a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you so much. Blackfriars. So, I mean, you're fairly central, so you're not too far away. I'd say film-wise, it's always great to go and see something at the Prince Charles. That's a great cinema that's like an old school experience. Equally, if you wanted to go see something mega, go to the BFI IMAX. It's the biggest screen and probably the best offering London has to offer. Other filmy things you can do that aren't seeing film.
I would say if you're in Blackfriars, walk up to Exmouth Market, which is really nice. I just love that as a place all year round. Some great restaurants there.
Go to Columbia Road Flower Market on the weekend. I bet that's lovely at Christmas, and it'll be a Christmas market. You can get really great food, lovely cafes and little cute shops with books in there that isn't like central London. It's just a slightly more fun part of London.
Bagel Bake.
Oh, yeah. Go get a Shoreditch bagel. Go to Supernova Burger. It's like our smash burger, trendy place in Soho. A lot of the food in Soho is just brilliant. Avoid Leicester Square. Avoid the West End. Avoid Oxford Street's fine.
Soho's
Oxford Street isn't good. Everything around Oxford Street, all the food and everything is brilliant, and the shopping is brilliant. Carnaby Street's really great to just go and have a shop.
The Cow in Westbourne Grove is a really nice pub that I really like.
If you like going out, if you like dancing and partying, go to Coco in Mornington Crescent. That's my favourite nightclub. And if you can book a really big one, go to Drum Sheds or Printworks. Those are some of the coolest event spaces ever. They are just brilliant. So if you like big nights out, go there. Conga Raw. London's got amazing food. Book a Sunday roast if you can get a table, and get a roast beef or whatever you like to eat. And like a nice park walk afterwards. That's what I'd say.
Those are the emails we have time for today. I'm afraid, guys. I'm afraid we are up against it on the clock. But don't worry, we will read out more of your emails next week. And don't forget to send them into hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com.
George, should we end with the game?
Let's do it.
Okay, George, as always, Pulp Kitchen ends
with a game.
Back to the sound game, George. I missed it. I missed making them. I missed playing them. We took a bit of a break because we had quizzes to write and sounds to make, and I was worried we were going to give them all away. But I love just going, oh, yeah, maybe that scene from that thing and that one. Wonder if George remembers that thing. Would he figure that out? We're back with the sound game. I'm going to play a clip from a film, but only the sound, and George has to guess what film the sound is from. Because of reasons, and you can play along at home. Of course, I'll play each sound twice. But George, are you ready for your first sound?
Let's go.
Please play along at home. George, you have to guess the film from this sound.
One's Asian. There's one for fetishes like feet and pee-pee and shit and stuff like that.
It's disgusting. You're like an animal.
What? I'm disgusting. You're the weird one, man. Don't make me feel weird because I like porn. You're the weird one for not liking porn. I'm normal as shit.
Do you know what this is?
No, because I'm going to start guessing.
Yes.
Jonah
you
Hill.
can start guessing. Yes.
Jonah Hill, Wolf of Wall Street?
No, I'm going to play it
Superbad?
again. Yes, Superbad is correct.
One's Asian.
This is the opening scene
one for
when they're talking
fetishes
about
like feet and pee-pee and shit and stuff like that.
It's disgusting. You're like an animal.
What? I'm disgusting. You're the weird one, man. Don't make me feel weird because I like porn. You're the weird one for not liking porn. I'm normal as shit.
I thought that was a woman's voice, but it's actually Michael Cera.
Great scene. It's their
Superbad.
first lines of dialogue that establishes them as like crude, and this is how teenagers actually speak to each other. It's sort of like the American in-betweeners in a way.
Yeah.
Like they're very crass but they're constantly on the phone. I love their friendship in that film. It's really great. Okay, are you ready for your next sound?
Let's go.
You have to guess the film from this sound.
What did they tell you? They told me that you had gone totally insane. And that your methods were unsound.
Well, I think I know it.
Yes.
Is it?
Great sounds, great haunting sounds, great voices in there. Do you want to have a guess as to what that is?
Is it Apocalypse Now?
Yes, it is.
It's when he finally meets Kurtz.
Yes, and he's wiping his head. And he's completely shot in shadow for very fun reasons. If you know the story,
massively
overweight. But just a shout out to Martin Sheen's voice in this. He does the voiceover for the whole thing, but it's completely mesmerizing. His voice in this.
Did they tell you?
That's Brando.
Yeah.
They told me that you had gone totally insane. And that your methods were unsound.
Just listening to that makes me want to listen to the whole film. It's like a haunting audiobook.
I've only seen it once.
The screeching
actually.
of the vocals.
I'd love to
Just
watch it
brilliant.
again.
Yeah.
I know it's great. Young Lawrence Fishburne in there when he was like 18.
And a young pre-Indiana Jones Harrison Ford in there for a scene.
Does he turn up?
Oh yeah, go back and watch it. It's a younger Harrison Ford. Apocalypse Now 79, wasn't it? Yeah. Is it 79
I
Apocalypse
think it's
Now?
77 actually.
77? Okay. Around that. Yeah, so pre-Harrison Ford blow up. Moving on to sound number 3. You have to guess the film from this sound. You are 2 for 2 so far.
I am hideous?
You are horrifying to look at, yes. But that's a good thing.
Oh?
When you're ugly and someone loves you, you know they love you for who you are. Beautiful people never know who to trust.
Wise words spoken there.
That
You
is-
nodded your head. I
yes.
assume you know what that's from.
That is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Yeah, Volume 2. Well done.
Because that is Drax and Mantis having a conversation. The wonderful Dave Bautista, probably the MVP of that entire mini franchise.
Yeah, just giving some wise words one more time for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
I am hideous?
You are horrifying to look at, yes. But that's a good thing.
Oh?
When you're ugly and someone loves you, you know they love you for who you are. Beautiful people never know who to trust.
I want to give a shout out to the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, which I think is underrated and I thought was one of the best things Marvel had put out for a long time at that time. I
bold claim, but
enjoyed it.
sure.
Moving on to your 4th sound. You're doing very well. You have to guess the movie from this sound.
There's one thing that bothers me. Why did you tell Brian that I was your fuck buddy?
I didn't tell him that. I didn't say that.
Hey, when did you stop caring, David?
Caring about what?
About the consequences of the promises that you've made.
Promises?
Yeah, the promises.
Yeah, I think I got it.
Yeah, you think you got it?
Yeah, I think I got it. I love it. I love it.
It's a deep cut.
If I'm wrong, I'm gonna look such a twat. But I think I've got this right, and I love it because that's how my movie brain works.
Yeah.
That's Vanilla Sky.
Yeah, it's Vanilla Sky.
Vanilla Sky. That's the scene with Tom Cruise in the car.
I've not seen it.
You not seen it?
No.
Oh, you just grabbed it.
Yeah,
I just grabbed it.
I just grabbed it. I was like,
James,
I'm going to put a clip from Vanilla Sky.
I have only seen that film once, and I want to say when I was about 9 years old.
If I have seen it, it's like on TV in the background.
Sure, but I only know that because they talk about sex in it. So when I was younger and I was watching it, it kind of
That's the
stood out.
thing.
'Cause I was like, oh my God, they're having talk about sex. He's like, because they had sex 4 times or something, and they're talking about that. And like, yeah, I remember that. And it's just before something big happens.
2001?
2001, yeah.
What was I going to say? It's like, yeah, because Cameron Diaz has actually got quite a distinctive voice.
Yes.
Whereas Tom Cruise may be less distinctive in this thing, but yeah, Vanilla Sky.
It's
threw that out there.
It's a strange movie. That I'll say that.
All right, I'd say this last one is the hardest.
Okay.
But I believe in you based on the same logic you've applied to the others. You have to guess the film from this sound. This one is hard.
Hey, who's on her feet?
Thanks to you, I guess.
Look like you just lose your bag. Danger City.
Damn it, I did lose my bag.
Nothing worth dying for, I hope.
Well, that's a tough question.
Nothing worth you dying for.
Hey, Dirk, get your butt up here so we can scrape some of the crap off this thing.
Excuse me.
Come on, ladies, get Mr. Bettine unhooked.
That's obviously McConaughey.
Oh, yes, it is.
So is it Dazed and Confused?
No.
Is it? So I'm just trying to roll through it then. But
Any idea who the female
Salma
voice?
Hayek? But I don't think they've made a movie together.
Close.
Penelope Cruz?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
So
a movie that McConaughey
This
and
is how
Penelope
you, I thought you
Cruz
figured it out, yeah.
made together.
I don't think we've talked about this film
Fool's Gold?
ever. No, but you're so...
Sahara?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Sahara. You really got.
Never seen it. Never seen it.
I've seen Sahara. It was all right.
But it's unmistakably McConaughey. And
That's
then I guess
the thing.
and I knew it wasn't new McConaughey. And
No.
he was still in his,
Also
because he's talking with a
2006,
woman. It's
2005.
still this era of McConaughey with the thing. Brilliant.
Yeah,
Brilliant. Well done.
Sahara's not bad. Contaminated
Campbell movie,
water.
I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Sahara's not bad. McConaughey, like kind of on an old school action flick, with
Right.
lots of sequences and planes and sails.
It's
and
the
boats.
National Treasure era.
Yeah, like National Treasure era, adventure, swashbuckling guy. He winds up he doesn't care, but he gets drawn into a greater cause that he ends up saving. Penelope Cruz in there. Peak Penelope Cruz. Gorgeous. And a brilliant actor play because she was the redeeming element of Ferrari.
Yes, she was. She was very good in that.
She was very
She's
good in that.
Almodovar's muse. He found her
Yes,
and plucked her and
yes.
brought her up. So
I've got Maria coming up soon, George.
that doesn't have her in it.
No, but
that's not Pedro
actually-
Almodovar either. We
Oh,
we reviewed Pedro.
God,
But we
no,
reviewed
I'm
The Room
thinking
next
Pablo
door.
Larraín. That
Yeah,
was-
yeah, that's all right.
You see what happened in my brain there. Anyway, that is all
And
the
Jacob
time.
Elordi isn't
And
Patrick
Jacob
Bateman.
Elordi is going to be
Yeah.
Patrick Bateman in the new film. That's all we have time for. We hope you enjoyed the sound game, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. Don't forget, we post new episodes of this podcast every single Wednesday.
Yes, thanks for sticking with us. If you've been listening, thank you. And if you've been watching us, I hope you've enjoyed this brief, little different setup. We had Double Take this week, which we talked about before, which is all about Patrick Bateman, Austin Butler being cast in American Psycho as Patrick Bateman, and much other news as well. Keep an eye out, please, on social media for the coming weeks, because we have lots of exciting junkets. We've got all our junkets from the Mufasa junket coming up. We'll have our film
fun
bites
film
with
bites.
John O'Davies, hopefully, and more junkets down the road. So keep an eye out for all the fun clips from that.
Thank you so much, guys. We will see you very soon. Bonus this week for Carry On and Lord of the Rings War of the Rohirrim. I've seen both of those. We'll be talking about those soon, so stay tuned.
Enjoy the week before Christmas. It's
Yes.
busy.
Oh my
Stay
God.
well.
Yeah, see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.